Hi, hello there. My name is Julia, and today I wanted to come on and create a video around the why behind any kind of like shift or transformation or change that we might set for ourselves that we're going through or in the process of or whatever. So, the thing that I want to distinguish between is the motivating factor of why we're actually doing these things. So, what is it that propels us forward? What is it that keeps us moving? What is that aspect that motivates us, even on those days when we don't necessarily feel like doing the same thing every day? You know, we might get bored, we might just feel a lack of enthusiasm, we might feel a little down or depressed. But connecting with that why, and specifically the why for ourselves, like why is it that this is important to me, I find to be especially beneficial to keeping us on the track that we ultimately want to be on and deserve to be on. So I'll give you an example because I find the thing that comes out most frequently and that I've connected with in a lot of ways is an external why. So I remember going to a yoga class one time, and the teacher gave us the option to dedicate our practice on that day to someone else. So to connect with the feeling of gratitude and then just like visualize the person and really like envision that we are dedicating that practice to someone else. And at the time, I thought it was a really beautiful idea. And I do like that idea, especially on those days where I am feeling a little bit more just like not very motivated, not very enthusiastic. And especially with a workout, it's kind of hard to tap into that extra source of energy that we have stored within us if I'm not feeling very like positive thoughts about me. But if I think of someone that I feel very grateful for, or someone who's made like a really big impact in my life, it is sometimes easier for me to dedicate this practice and cultivate that inner strength, find that extra little push if I'm thinking about something else that I'm grateful for, someone else who maybe can't do this practice, or just something external from myself to help motivate me to move forward. And I bring this up because I've recognized in myself that I use this form of external motivation to propel me forward in a lot of different areas in my life. However, I've also recognized that in doing so, I don't feel as connected with my own purpose, my own why, like the benefit for me to do this practice. And I really do think that connecting with that aspect leads to a more sustainable practice overall. I'll give another example. So in my life, I have been working towards this aspect of just being more self-expressive. When I was a really young girl, before certain like programming and things had come in, it was very natural for me to be very self-expressive, to be very like lively and jovial, and to sing and just talk a lot. But through the reactions that I received from others, I started to recognize that maybe me being loud and boisterous and just taking up a lot of like space in this way isn't the best way for me to receive love from others. So then I started to diminish my shine, so to speak. Grew to be a very quiet person. And so now I'm in that journey of this is like my transformation. So in the journey of first being kind of talkative, then like moving down, and so now I would consider myself moving back out of that and stepping into my own power more fully. And so in a lot of ways, I will say that I am building my own self-expression so that I can help other people in this area, so that I can teach others who also may feel stifled in their ability to show up fully as themselves, to fully express themselves, to be honest about who they are and what they want in the world. And while it's easy for me to connect with those people and say that, yes, like these people are my motivation, they're why I'm doing this, this is why I feel very passionate about this, because I don't want those people to experience the same suffering that I have or did in my life. And so in some ways, I convince myself that I'm actually doing this for them, because I want to make the world a better place, because I want to see other people just like shining their light as brightly so they don't have to go through the awkward like transformations that I had. And it'll like, and in many ways this is true. It's certainly an area that motivates me to move forward, and perhaps on those days where I am not feeling the most connected with myself, or feeling like I have what it takes or whatever, then connecting with, okay, well, all of these other people that I get to help as a result of doing the work that I do can help to move me forward. But in saying this, I recognize that it is much more powerful for me to build a practice of connecting with why I'm doing this for me, rather than why I'm doing this for other people. And I feel like this is a bit of a controversial topic, because as a society, we are taught that being selfish is bad. We are taught that we should not be focusing on ourselves. We're taught that, like general business model is like, who do I want to help? Who do I want to serve? So it's like we're constantly being programmed to think about other people outside of ourselves, rather than checking in and slowing down and just breathing deeply and taking that time to ask ourselves, why am I really doing this for me? What is my benefit? And I felt called to talk about this today, because I think that the more we are able to connect with the why behind these actions for our own good, helps us to recognize our own value. And it helps us to see that by changing ourselves, we do change the world. I mean, the converse is also true, that we are a reflection of the world at large. But if we really want to make a change, we can't just go out and like project everything out into the world and tell other people what to do or whatever. We have to turn inwards and ask ourselves, like, okay, what is this area that I feel like I want to see differently in the world externally, and how can I change that internally? One of the spiritual teachers that I've had in my life once told me that we never do anything for anyone other than ourselves. That even though we may have this belief that we're being selfless, or that we're giving just because we want to give, or whatever, that there's no such thing as like a selfless good deed, or that any time that we do something, even if it creates a positive like feeling or response or some kind of benefit to like someone else, that we're really just doing it for ourselves. And the positive feelings that we receive as a result of either doing a thing or seeing the joy or whatever. But it's really for our own like selfishness, our own desires, that we ever reach out, whether it's we just want to feel good or we want to like genuinely help someone, we're still doing it for ourselves. And this is actually really, really important because it just puts into perspective. I actually can't remember if she was coming from this teacher that I had, if she was coming from the idea that like as within so without, that we are all that there is in the world, that everyone else is really just a reflection of us. But in essence, if we can connect with our why we are really doing something, then we don't need to figure out how this other person's going to benefit from it. We just have to trust that they will benefit as a result of us living our truth, healing ourselves, showing up like fully and loving ourselves fully, that they will then begin to see that, acknowledge that, and question, okay, well, how can I do the same? Thinking back to even the times that I've tried to change my diet or eat healthier, it's funny because I've recognized that I have had a lot of external motivations, such as people in my family getting sick, just seeing how life can be diminished, or like the quality of life is sometimes lowered when people don't take care of their bodies. And while that has in some ways been a motivation for me, because I see like, okay, this is what happens to people when they don't take care of their bodies, and I don't want that. I want to experience something different. But that it really had been my own experiences with that and my own transformation that I keep coming back to, because that's like a visceral experience that I have had, where I've recognized that putting certain things in my body makes me feel like heavy or depressed or sad or just like angry or whatever. And other times I'll feel very like energized and uplifted and optimistic and just like ready to take on the world, simply, and I say this kind of lightly, but just by changing my diet. And it's just interesting to me because when I fully connect with why I want that for myself, why I want to eat healthy for me, it's because I know how it makes me feel and I want that for myself. But then the additional benefits of that are that if I continue to do this practice to honor myself, I'm going to show up in a much more vibrant way. I'm going to like when I feel energized, I have energy to give to others. When I feel good about myself, then I will act more lovingly towards others. I will see that light in them as well, rather than just trying to dim my own shine because I'm feeling like ashamed or guilty or whatever. Then I will just be focusing more on the good rather than what isn't aligned for me. And so I find it kind of funny sometimes that we don't always connect with just how powerful it can be to focus on ourselves, to be selfish, to say that this is what I want to do, this is why I want to do it, and I'm not going to be swayed or persuaded to do anything differently because I know that I am worth this action. I know that I am worth this investment. I know that I deserve this level of authenticity or vulnerability or communication or connection or whatever it is. And just setting that standard for ourselves. It's easy to say that, like, oh, I'm I don't know, like running or doing yoga for like my mom or my brother or whatever. But when I really connect with the fact that I'm doing this for me because I want to be healthy, but I also want that health to be an influence to other people. And I know the power that that holds. And that to me is just such an act of self-love that it feels so much more powerful than simply saying like, oh, I'm going to go for a jog today because like I just like want to support my mom or something, or like want to like dedicate this practice to someone else. Like there is a time and a place and a reason to do that. And don't get me wrong, there is something very beautiful and setting like a prayer or an intention or just a space of gratitude for something that we have in our lives. But to be constantly pulling from that place when we're finding ourselves at a lower energy point can be detrimental to our own abilities to just recognize our true value and our true worth and why we deserve to put in this energy for ourselves rather than for someone else. As I go through this journey of transformation, of showing up more powerfully and speaking my own truth, I recognize that the benefits that I get from that are just feeling like I can be more myself when I connect with people, feeling like I can express my true like thoughts, beliefs, and perspective. And if I show up to a call or a meeting with someone constantly thinking of like, oh, I have to like show up this way for them, like if I'm constantly putting that power outside of myself, then I'm forgetting to connect with who I am, why I'm there, what is it that makes me special and unique and worthy of talking to this person? What value do I bring to the table? And I just cannot stress enough how beautiful I think that it is when we are able to connect with that energy rather than focusing on the external. Like I said, we have been so programmed to focus on others, people please others, watch what we're actually saying because I don't want to make anyone else upset. But this is when we start to make ourselves sick because we're not honoring and listening to our bodies. We're not showing up in the way that we can most powerfully because we are just not fully allowing ourselves to connect with that energy. So in saying this, I think it's really beautiful to know both the internal and the external why behind, anything that we do, but especially if it's like a larger transformation or like commitment that we're making to ourselves. So I would love to hear from you and just hear your stories and your perspective of the internal why of some kind of shift, some kind of transformation that you are going through right now. And if you know the external, like who else you want to see benefit as a result of you taking this, like these steps and this action for yourself, I would love to hear that as well. But just to take this moment and this opportunity to connect with the value that you have and why it is such a gift for you to focus on yourself rather than just focusing on others. Okay, so yeah, thank you for this time. I would love to hear what you come up with, what you're working on right now, and why you feel like you deserve to achieve that and see those results that you're looking for. Okay, so much love and peace, and I just hope you are all having a beautiful day. Thank you, and take care.